The 2011 Goderich, Ontario tornado was, at an F3 tornado strength, a major storm. Hi, I'm Chris May, writer, producer, and host of This Day in Weather History, now in its second year from the Weather Network in Canada. It started as a waterspout. They're rarely a risk to life, unless, of course, it crawls ashore and strengthens. This is another day that I will never forget, this time because I was there. This day in weather history. I realized in that assignment why I was not cut out for hard news. You see, I hurt. I hurt for each and every one I met or saw who looked as though they had just returned to Earth from another planet to find nothing the way that they remembered it. It was that surreal. I saw the destruction. I met with the people who lost everything. It was generated by an isolated supercell which unexpectedly first came to shore, then tore across Huron County, Ontario on the afternoon of Sunday, August 21st, 2011. Beginning as a waterspout over Lake Huron, the lone supercell carrying all this destructive energy came ashore, became now a proper tornado, and proceeded to rip through the popular lakeside town of Goderich, severely damaging the historic wheel-spoke-shaped downtown, the courthouse, businesses, police station, and all the homes in the surrounding area. It was an otherwise gorgeous day, hot, humid, breezy, and the beaches were packed. No one could have known what was to come that day as far as severe weather was concerned. Here now is the sequence of events that led up to touchdown in Goderich. 11 a.m. Showers and thunderstorms began to pick up over southwestern Ontario. They started off weak and unassuming, but began to intensify in some localized areas. 12:45 p.m. A brief tornado was reported in Gananoque. It was later confirmed as an F1, causing minor damage. This is when Environment Canada immediately updated with a severe thunderstorm watch for most of southern Ontario. Included in that bulletin was the town of Goderich and surrounding Huron County. They saw what was coming next, so they were likely scouring over radar and satellites and the computers used to update the alerts and warnings. 1:30 p.m. An intense thunderstorm had now developed over northern Michigan, packing large hail. 3 p.m. A tornado warning was issued for Michigan, but as the storm moved out over the relatively warmer waters of Lake Huron, it weakened, but not for long. It began to intensify once again as it crossed into Canada. Strong rotation began to develop on the southwest side of this thunderstorm. A textbook-style hook echo soon appeared in reflectivity images, and this powerful storm was now closing in on Goderich from the northwest at approximately 75 kilometers per hour. 3:48 p.m. Environment Canada issued a tornado warning as the meteorologists that were monitoring this system estimated this storm would make landfall there in approximately 10 minutes. This storm was also heavily rain-wrapped, meaning it was in this massive curtain of rain that the actual tornado itself was hidden from view, a lot like a Trojan horse in a way. 3:55 p.m. This storm has now moved on to land and is now a fully visible tornado. It made its first destructive appearance at the Sifto salt mine located on Indian Island at the mouth of the Maitland River. It was there that the only fatality of this entire ordeal happened, as a 61-year-old crane operator was killed when his boom collapsed. And now for the downtown. The tornado was sadly and unfortunately at its most massive and most intense as it slammed into the square. Every building around its perimeter, including that historic courthouse at its center, was severely damaged or completely destroyed. Windows were blown out of everything and left with curtains and furniture dangling from them like what you might see in war films. Roofs and entire second stories were torn away, brick facades crumbled, and whole sections of buildings collapsed. The destruction made for an unprecedented debris field that was thrown around at hundreds of kilometers per hour. House beams from destroyed property became spears, flying through the air and into buildings' brick walls and roofs. Some went clean through cars and trucks that had been flipped and thrown. The scope and severity of the devastation was immense and shocking. And now for a miracle moment. You recall I mentioned earlier that day severe thunderstorm watches and warnings were issued on both sides of the border. That was the cell moving through Michigan. Well, because of that, an afternoon event was canceled, and hundreds of people who were in the square at the time attending the bustling market had gone home. Had this not transpired this exact way, at this exact time, there is no telling how high the casualty count may have been. This day in weather history. Tomorrow is August 22nd, and it was on this day way back in 1893 that this late 19th century season became one of only 2 seasons on record to see 4 Atlantic hurricanes at the same time, with the other one happening 105 years later in 1998. I'm going to be all over this story tomorrow, this day in weather history, with me, your host, Chris May.